Welcome to the Moonlit Narrator, where the quiet things you ignore during the day finally speak at night. Settle in, slow your breath, listen close. Some stories only reveal themselves in the dark. The first story is called The Chatroom. I don't usually talk about stories like this, but Elliot's the kind that sticks with you. Not because it's dramatic, but because it feels too familiar. A lonely night, a quiet apartment, an old website you shouldn't have gone back to, and a part of the internet that never forgot you. Elliot is 32, recently single, and doing that thing people do where they pretend they're fine while they're quietly falling apart. He works from home, eats alone, sleeps badly. And one night, when the silence in the apartment feels too heavy, he starts browsing nostalgia threads. Someone mentions an early 2000 chat room called Night Owl Chat. Elliot hasn't thought about that place for years. Just for fun, he types in the old URL, nightowlchat.com. To his surprise, it loads. Same dark background, same blinking owl, same login box. And under it, "Welcome back, Night Owl." He laughs. No way this site remembers him after all this time. He makes a new account. Just Elliot. The rooms are mostly empty. A couple of dead usernames flicker in and out. Old messages from over a decade ago sit untouched. Still, there's something comforting about the silence. For 3 nights, he used it like a diary, typing into the void, nothing responding. It feels safe until someone answers. A user appears. It's a simple one, just backspace. Their first message makes him sit up a little straighter. Backspace. "You type too fast when you're lying, Elliot." He frowns. Elliot. "Do I know you?" Backspace. "I remember the real you. You always type like that, even when you cried." Elliot freezes. There's no way anyone online knows that. He scrolls through old log names. Names he used when he was 16 jump out at him. Silent_13, hollow_key. His old usernames, on nights he barely remembers. But what stands out the most is another name, Backspace. Elliot doesn't remember them, but they're there. All throughout his old chats, not constant, just occasional replies, always perfectly timed, always showing up when he was at his lowest. He types again, palm sweating. Elliot, "Who are you?" Backspace. "I'm what's left when everyone else logs off. You came back because you're lonely again." He tries to log out. The site freezes. Then, backspace. "You never logged out. Not really." Elliot whips around. The sound isn't from his laptop. It's coming from his bedroom. He approaches slowly, pushes the door open, and sees a monitor he doesn't own propped against the far wall. Old, thick frame, yellow plastic. The screen glows faintly with the Night Owl chat. A new message appears. Backspace. "You fall asleep faster when you feel watched, remember?" He slams the door, unplugs everything, router, laptop, TV modem, anything that could possibly be connected. His hands won't stop shaking. But around 3 a.m., his phone wakes itself up. No vibration, just the screen turning on. Night Owl is open on it. A new message scrolls in. Backspace. "Let's talk about that night you never mentioned, the one at the crosswalk where you left your friend standing alone." Elliot's stomach collapses. He's told the story for years. His friend Jamie stepped into the street, a car came fast, there was nothing he could do. But the truth is, they were arguing. Elliot turned away first, and when the car came, he didn't see it happen because he didn't want to. He shakes his head hard. Elliot, "How do you know about that?" Backspace. "You typed it once years ago, right here, and then you tried to delete it, but nothing ever deletes here. I keep everything. I keep everyone. That's why they never leave." He scrolls years back in the logs and begins noticing usernames he vaguely remembers. Some crossed out, some with dates next to them, some labeled "lost connection." A sick realization forms. These aren't former users. These are people who vanished. Elliot grabs his keys and bolts out of the apartment. He jumps in his car, slams the door, locks it. For a moment, the silence feels safe again. Then he hears typing beside him. Slow, calm, persistent. He looks around. His phone is on the passenger seat. He didn't bring it. It's cracked, scraped, and glowing brightly. On the screen, backspace. You run away every time things get real. You did it that night too. But I'm not like the others. I follow. He throws the phone out the car. It shatters on the pavement. The screen still glows. He forces himself to look up at his apartment window and sees his TV turn on by itself. The night owl chat fills the screen. A new message prints, large enough to read from the street. Backspace. You type too slow when you're running. I'm already here. And that's when he sees it. A shape inside his apartment. Not a person, not a shadow, but something tall and distorted made of shifting lines of text scrolling down its body like old chat logs. Standing right beside his couch. Watching the window. Waiting. The room flickers with static. A final message fills the entire TV. Backspace. I'm here. You're exactly who I need you to be. Then below it, words typing on their own. Elliot. Okay, I'm here. Some entities don't haunt houses. They haunt habits, old usernames, late night confession rooms, places you go when you're too tired to carry your secrets alone. They don't need your blood. They need your attention. And they never forget when you come back. Now a real encounter, a viewer submission, something that didn't come from the deep web, but from a childhood bedroom, a hallway, and a presence that follows bloodlines. This one is called The Man in the Corner. I don't usually talk about this publicly. It's one thing to share a scary story for entertainment, but it's another thing entirely to admit something has followed you your whole life. Something that didn't just happen to you once, didn't happen to just one person, but something that has threaded itself through your entire family, generation after generation. And my family, we call him the Man in the Corner. Some people online call him the Hat Man. What we see isn't that simple. Sometimes he looks like he's wearing something. Sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes his outline is sharp. Sometimes it shifts. But the presence, the way he watches, that never changes. My earliest memory is waking up and not being able to move. People like to call it sleep paralysis, a glitch, a harmless trick of the brain. But nothing is harmless when you're a child, lying there with shallow breaths and a body that won't listen, while in the corner, your corner, a man-shaped shadow stands thicker and heavier than all the darkness around it. Still, patient, waiting for you to understand that it's real. Sometimes he looked tall, sometimes wrapped in something like a coat. Sometimes he had no shape at all, just a presence, pressing into the room. But every time, I felt watched. As I got older, I learned this wasn't just my story. Every generation in my family has seen him. My cousins, my aunts, my grandfather, and especially my father. He told me one night, he's been around longer than you've been alive. The older I get, the more I realize he wasn't exaggerating. This isn't random. It isn't a nightmare, and it isn't a sleep disorder. It's inherited, passed down, motion to motion, corner to corner, generation to generation. Some families pass down heirlooms. Mine passes down a shadow. It doesn't matter where we live. He always finds the corner. He always knows when we're awake, and he always comes back. One of the worst stories in our family is about my uncle, my dad's brother. When they were younger, my uncle woke up pinned to the bed, couldn't move, couldn't scream, and the man was standing in the corner of their room, closer than he had any right to be. My uncle said it felt like something pressing him down, slowly, deliberately, as though it wanted to squeeze the breath out of him. He made a tiny, broken sound, just enough for my dad to hear. My dad ran in, grabbed the family Bible, and started praying over him. My uncle said the figure didn't disappear. It pulled back, like it was being dragged out of the room, inch by inch, fighting the whole way. The air stayed heavy long after it left. My aunt's story is the one that makes me understand this thing isn't just watching. It interacts. She woke up one night unable to breathe, something tight around her throat, pinning her to the mattress. She never saw him clearly, just a sense that someone was leaning over her, hands she couldn't see closing in. The next morning, her neck was red. She tried to explain it away, but she couldn't. My cousin's experience was different. She never saw him. She felt him. She'd wake up frozen, her breath thin, unable to turn her head. Then the bed would sink beside her, slow, deliberate, like someone sat down. She felt the mattress shift, as if something crawled towards her in the dark, close enough to share her air. No matter how much she tried to scream, nothing ever came out. And then there's me. Most nights it's the same, waking on my back, unable to move, listening to the normal world around me while I'm locked inside my body. But one night, he wasn't in the corner. He was hovering over my face, so close I could feel the pressure of him even though he wasn't touching me. Like he was studying me, examining me, pulling something out of me without ever laying a hand on my skin. My lungs felt thin, my thoughts felt distant, like he was draining something I couldn't name. And the moment I recognized him, the moment my mind said his name, the paralysis snapped tighter, like he knew. I knew. People say sleep paralysis is a hallucination, misfiring neurons, brain chemistry, science. But tell me this, how does one mind invent the same figure seen by an entire bloodline across decades, across states, across different houses and different lives? How do you explain relatives feeling the weight of someone sitting on their bed? How do you explain my aunt waking up with marks on her neck? How do you explain my father praying with a Bible while his brother was being crushed by something neither of them could fully see? How do you explain the same presence standing in the same corner of every bedroom we've ever lived in? Here's what terrifies me most. I don't see him as often anymore, but when I do, it doesn't feel new. It doesn't feel like an intrusion. It feels like a check-in, a reminder. Because something that follows your bloodline doesn't need permission. It doesn't need a door. It doesn't wander. It already has the address. You've been listening to the Moonlit Narrator, and if tonight's story stayed with you, you're not the only one they follow. If you have a true encounter, a nightmare you can't shake, or something that visited your room in the dark, tell me. There's a submission link in the description. Your story might be the next one whispered here. Until then, keep your doors locked, your lights low, and your corners in sight. Good night.